what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over my Gholdengo EX deck that I played to a day 2 finish at Toronto Regionals. Now, I'm going to be doing a kind of new style of video here, something I haven't done in a while, and that's going to be a top-down, in-depth deck profile. So what that means is we're going to be kind of overviewing my entire Gholdengo deck, card by card inclusion, and really going through the nitty-gritty. So hopefully that sounds cool to you if you want to learn a little bit more about this deck. If it does, give this video a like, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you would do with your Gholdengo deck or what deck you are running with. So starting things off, we have 3 copies of Gholdengo EX. Now, our main focus of this deck is we want to be attacking with Make It Rain. We have a bunch of energies that we're trying to rip every turn and knock out our opponent's Pokemon. Now, funny enough, this deck has kind of evolved to not be a Make It Rain deck. We've seen how we have attackers with Soul Rock, Mega Lopunny. So having 4 doesn't necessarily make sense, especially when we're coming to space. Sure, if this deck had 200 cards available, we'd have 4 Gholdengo EX, we'd probably have a baby Gholdengo, etc., etc. But now we just want to be using this mainly as draw power with its coin bonus ability. And we want to be able to knock out some of the big bad Pokemon in the format, such as Gardevoir EX, Dragapult EX, Charizard EX, etc. And a lot of other matchups were mainly going to be a single prize card deck. So one of the kind of ways that we've cheated the Gholdengo, the 4th Gholdengo, is going to be from Technical Machine Evolution. So it's one of those ways where, like, instead of playing the 4th one, we can evolve right away, so we don't have to worry about drawing into them. If you look at other decks in the format, Dragapult is playing 2 or 3 copies, Gardevoir is playing 2 copies, and we have Charizard that's typically playing 2 copies. Gholdengo at 3 is totally fine. 4 was definitely training wheels, and too many people were on that for too long. Now, next up, we have our 4 copies of the Minor Aaron Running Gimmighoul. Now, Minor Aaron Running is my favorite Gimmighoul because oftentimes we're trying to find energies for Gholdengo EX's attack. That allows us to attack, or we can use the Lunatone Lunar Cycle and pitch more energies to draw. Now, there are a few other Gimmighouls. The continuous coin toss one, or continuous tumbler, whatever it's called, is all right. I don't hate it. The one with Ram is a little bit outdated because there's not really too much Pikachu in format. And then, of course, there's the Call for Family. With Dragapult seeing the success it did at Toronto, I would hate to have a 50 HP Pokemon that our opponent could easily knock out. 70 HP is already low enough, as we've seen with Soul Rock decks. That's really where things are at. Now, speaking about Soul Rock is going to be next up. This is in tandem with the Lunatone, so I'm going to also put the Lunatones there. We do have the Soul Rock that allows us to attack for 70 damage. More often than not, we're going to be rocking with that 70 damage in the early game to rip our opponent's Pokemons to shreds. Oftentimes, we're not putting out a 2 prize card Pokemon like Genesect EX, Fazandipity EX, Gholdengo EX, because we want to focus on a mono prize card board, forcing our opponent to knock out a single prize card Pokemon. Obviously, there's a time and place for everything, and things are going to change for different matchups. We're also going to be using Lunatone as our draw engine, Lunar Cycle, so quite often you want to be going for Lunatone earlier on in the game, Lunar Cycle, ripping through a bunch of energies to be able to draw. Once we've kind of felt through our deck and kind of drawn a bunch, we can then decide to use Superior Energy Retrieval right out of our discard pile. In the mirror matchup, it's more of a battle of the Soul Rocks than it is a battle of the Gholdengos. As crazy as I might see, like, oftentimes this deck is a Soul Rock deck more than a Gholdengo deck. Now, we do have the 1/1 copy of the Mega Lopunny EX. And there's a couple things I want to go over here. Charm Baniri is my favorite Baniri in this version of the deck because you could reduce 20 damage. Now, your opponent going Soul Rock plus a Vitality Band hits for 80 damage. This has 90 HP, right? So instead of hitting with a Soul Rock for just like a straight up 70 damage, even if they have a Vitality Band, Charm does prevent you from getting knocked out from a Soul Rock, which can be enough to get through in the mirror match. If your opponent just can't get a knockout for 1 turn, that could often be the difference between winning or losing. It's not an easy to find Baniri because it's from the Mega Evolution set. Many people are just using the one from Phantasmal Flames, but that's what we got going on for that one. Now, I could see us playing the other Baniri. I mean, I could see us playing any of the Baniris, to be honest. You could use the Baniri that does 20 damage I think from Prismatic with a Vitality Band to knock out a Bidoof, you could use the other Baneri to switch to the bench to avoid your Baneri getting knocked out. But we do have the Mega Lopunny EX, which does give us a good option to attack into any of these like item locking Pokemon, such as the Bidoos, the Frillishes. It also is a strong Pokemon that often your opponent can't knock out 330 HP, so you don't need to be worried about it being a 3 prize for too often. Your opponent being able to just like not OHKO it is pretty strong in most cases. And of course, Spiky Hopper does allow us to get through things like Crustle or anything that otherwise we can attack. If your opponent brings it up, you can use Spiky Hopper against a Frillish with a Bravery Charm on it. So it's pretty good into our Gardevoir matchups, any deck that plays Cornerstone. It has its use cases, right? Being able to hit for 230 can be quite strong. Now we have a Genesect EX. Genesect is pretty interesting when it comes down to it. We're able to search just for Gholdengos off of a Nest Ball or any other way that we have Genesect to be able to get out. We're not really attacking with it, but it's really a card that we just have there for consistency. We don't really want to be putting it down too often in the matchup. We have Phantasmal EX. Again, if we don't have to put it down, we don't want to put it down because we don't want to necessarily give our opponent an easy to knock out 2 prize card Pokemon on the board. Still, you're able to use Flip the Script if you need to. Sometimes you need to prepare for your opponent to go Iono and getting a knockout on your Pokemon. So Phantasmal EX is a good crutch there. And last but not least, for Pokemon, we have the Hops Cramorant. The Hops Cramorant is probably going to be the most interesting inclusion of this deck. It does 120 damage. That's enough to knock out your opponent's Solrock. When it comes down to mirror matches, you want to be able to use Hops Cramorant to respond back to your opponent's Solrock. And if they don't play Hops Cramorant, often they are forced to attack with a Gholdengo EX, which forces them to put a 2 prize card Pokemon up first. Now, there's often this debate in the deck, should you be playing Premium Power Pro, Vitality Band, Hops Cramorant? I have a lot of text for Mirror because Gholdengo ended up being the most popular deck at Toronto. Now, is it going to be the most popular deck at Birmingham or Merida? Very reasonably, possibly. We did see a little bit less Gholdengo than we thought we would in the top 8 ASM, but Gholdengo is still an incredibly popular deck, so I think that Hops Cramorant is worthwhile of an inclusion. Now, that's what we've got going on for Pokemon. Pretty standard line. I think most decks are going to be playing pretty much exactly this, maybe swapping out the Baneri. Some lists you're going to see Mega Lopunny turn into a Mega Mawile EX, and it's really just for space, but Mega Lopunny EX does give you a little bit better of a matchup spread into the current metagame. Now, we do have 4 copies of Arven. Arven allowing us to search for whatever item card and tool card we want. We do have 3 different tool cards, 2 air balloons, 1 Vitality Band, and 1 Technical Machine Evolution. So if we are playing against a deck that slows us down, like Bidoof or Gardevoir, we can TM Evo ASAP with Arven's, fetching out the Technical Machine Evolution, using it because it's not an item, and really finding those early evolutions. Other games, we could be using Air Balloon to retreat into a Solrock to attack, or we could use the Vitality Band to increase our damage on our Solrock if necessary. We have 4 copies of Boss's Orders. With this deck being a little bit more aggressive, we want to be able to bring up whatever Pokemon we want with Solrock, like our opponent's Gimmighoul's, other Pokemon, so we could just go attack, 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 attack. We really are a big beat stick deck, and the bosses really allow us to do that. Now, one thing that I would change about this list is I would actually cut the Boss's Orders for a copy of Iron Bundle. After talking with my friend Gabe Smart, I was convinced to play the Boss's Orders. However, I would swap for an Iron Bundle just because it is searchable with Artisan or anything else like that. And there were a few cases where my opponent would put a Gimmighoul on their bench and turn when I want to play Arven, so it would allow me to get a knockout. So that's one change I would make about this version of the deck going forward. I always keep a bunch of extra cards in the back of my deck box, just in penny sleeves, when it comes to testing. So whenever I'm traveling or testing, I always have extra cards here, just different Gimmighoul's, cards that you could see yourself playing in the deck. That way I don't have to be searching through my collection to find all of these cards. And you can see like there's a lot of like cool cards here that you might consider playing in this deck, different ace specs and the such. These penny sleeves have definitely seen better days. And of course, I'm also collecting, I don't know if anyone noticed, I have all the prize pack cards. I'm starting to collect the energies as well for these decks too. So if there's any extra energies or anything that I might be changing, that's what I have going on there for extra text. So if you have any questions about that, let me know in the comments. And then I always carry extra sleeves with each one of my decks. Shout out Element Sleeves. You can always check out my discount code available in the description of this video. And then, yeah, now that I have this, I just shove that in the back of my deck box and we are all good to go with that. So works out great. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Turo. I think decks that play Prime Catcher can sometimes get by with just 1 Turo. However, 2 Turo is great in any build that does not play that. And then I have 1 copy of the Cypher Maniacs Code Breaking. Cypher Maniacs Code Breaking could be an Iono. That could be pretty hot. We don't have a way to directly search it the same way we don't have a way to search out Code Breaking. But Code Breaking is an extra consistency card when it comes to searching out our Pokemon or whatever we need against item lock in the mid to late game. Treat it as like an extra consistency card, like a 5th Arven almost. Like if you get Iono'd into a Cypher Maniac, you're able to put Superior, and maybe win the game. Or maybe at the end of your turn, you're able to go put Boss on top of your deck. It does give you a lot of cool options. We have the 4 copies of the Fighting Gong. With 4 copies of Fighting Gong, we are able to search out our Lunatone, Soul Rocks, and Fighting Energies a little bit more often, giving us more outs that turn 1 attack. So the deck's fairly aggressive. 4 superior energy retrievals. That does allow us to get back our energies. So we are able to make it rain quite often and rip through. We could also get those energies back for Lunatone. So we're able to use its ability. We got 3 copies of Earthen Vessel. So if we're not searching for fighting energies, we want to be searching for our metal and fighting energies, clearing through our deck and discarding any clutter that we might not need. Not every single matchup's going to use Lopunny. Sometimes you have your Gholdengos before you use Genesect. Some matchups you're not going to be using Hop Cramorant. So it's always a combination of like, what can you discard for the matchup to maybe fetch back with superior energy retrieval, or maybe just clearing some clutter out of your deck. Now we have 2 copies of the Nest Ball here, and that's because we are running the Precious Trolley A spec. So that's something that is interesting when it comes to this build. That's one of the reasons why we're able to fit so many extra consistency cards. I don't know how I feel about Precious Trolley after playing it for the regionals. It does allow us to play extra cards like Cypher. It does allow us to play 4 Fighting Gongs. It does allow for some crazy good setups, and I am able to aggressively attack my opponent more often. Sometimes Prime Catcher goes crazy. Sometimes Secret Box goes crazy. Gholdengo could pretty much run whatever it wants. We have 1 copy of Superior Rod, or Super Rod, not Superior Rod, to shuffle back our energies or Pokemon. Oftentimes I'm grabbing back like a Cramorant, a Soul Rock, whatever pieces I need in case I prized anything. And we also have a copy of or we could also get back like energies if we're playing against like a Toadstool or something like that. We have a copy of the Premium Power Pro, working with the Soul Rock and Vitality Band to knock out other opposing Soul Rock, Lunatone, and Hops Cramorant. There's the Precious Trolley. Shout out my boy Dario and my boy Pat Jones for making sure that Michelle and I both got a stamped Precious Trolley for Toronto Regionals. Pretty hard card to acquire, especially since the set is so brand new with all the prize pack stuff. Same thing with the Genesect. Shout out Jake Santiago. And there's so many other like cards that were just like the Fighting Gongs, the Soul Rocks, but the Precious Trolley and the Genesects were a little bit hard to acquire. Precious Trolley is really just going to allow us to grab like Gimme Ghoul, Soul Rock, Lunatone, and then like even a Genesect. So I felt like as soon as I got this card, Arven into the Precious Trolley plus like whatever else I needed was absolutely fantastic throughout the entire day. Now, one of the other pieces from Arven is going to be Air Balloon. So Air Balloon really allowing us to kind of get whatever we need to retreat out of the active, make sure that we're able to use coin bonus a little bit more often. That part's pretty cool. We have the Technical Machine Evolution, which we covered a little bit. So we're able to draw out of these Bidoof, Frillish kind of moments, and we're able to Arven search as long as we have an energy, and the Vitality Band allowing us to do some extra damage. Soul Rock plus 10. Sometimes the Mega Lopunny, like your opponent will put like Bravery Charm on like a Lily's Clefairy or something like that. Like you can use Vitality Band. Otherwise, Gardevoir has 310, Gholdengo has 260, so it can be used outside of other things other than just Solrock. But the main Pokemon you're trying to attack are going to be Frillish and Solrock with the Vitality Band and or Premium Power Pro. We have 2 copies here of Artisan. Artisan being able to help us get out of our opponent's jamming tower when it comes to playing against Dragapults, and of course just having some extra basic Pokemon search. Pretty standard when it comes to the Precious Trolley build. We're just trying to be a very consistent yet kind of basic version of Gholdengo. I'd say if you're like newer to this archetype, this is the best way to play it. Or if you're just trying to get that like first day 2 and not necessarily care about how far you go. Now we went with 8 copies of Fighting Energy. Fighting Energy is really going to be the main card when it comes to this deck because we can attack with Solrock, we can use Lunatone's ability, and we can search them out with Fighting Gong. We have 3 copies of Metal Energy, and that's because we only need basically a copy per Gholdengo EX. It's just for prizing purposes. So overall, like this is where the list ends. I am going to put the list available in the description so you can copy and paste it right into live. And if you need any of the cards, check out our sponsor at Kayfabe Cards. They have a large selection, and they are merchants at a lot of the Pokemon TCG regionals that we have in North America. So if you're going to a regionals, there's a pretty good chance they might be at that as a merchant. I think like going forward, I don't know if I want to run Precious Trolley again. Like in some cases, it felt a little bit weaker to be running this than other aspects such as Prime Catcher or the Secret Box. The Secret Box build is pretty cool, like Josh Frink's list from Toronto, where there was a Team Rocket's Watchtower to shut off Alakazam decks and Charizard decks that have Noctowl, Pidgeot, and Dunsparce. And there was also an Iono in that deck, so you can kind of shuffle your opponent's hand down to nothing, lock them with the Watchtower, or in the case of Mirror, Mirror doesn't really expect an Iono, so that could be pretty cool. However, I do really like the Premium Power Pro, the Vitality Band, and Hops Tramrant. So I have a little bit of training wheels when it comes to Mirror. I have some options. A lot of lists are cutting Vitality Band, Premium Power Pro, and Hops Tramrant, and they don't really have options for Mirror. Gets a little bit scary on both sides. I could see myself switching to another Baneri, but those are just like some light changes. Same thing, I could see myself playing one Copper Family Gimmighoul. Like I said, I want to cut up Boss's Orders for an Iron Bundle if I were to be running this list. That's where I think this list would have been pretty perfect. And maybe the Cypher Maniac would have been on Ionas in this list. So if you do want to kind of experiment, I do think if you take this exact list, minus a boss for an Iron Bundle, minus a Cypher Maniac for an Iono, I would really like those changes. I could even see like a Team Rocket's Watchtower, giving yourself that hope and not just searching it out. And I might find myself playing that. Like currently, I'm recording this video from my B&B in Merida, Mexico. I flew to Cancun right after Toronto Regionals on the Monday, and I drove to Merida like about 4 hours away. So it's been a journey. It's been interesting. And I'm going to keep on pressing out some content while I get things set up here. So I hope that you enjoyed this style of video. Maybe it gives you a little bit more insight into it. If there's anything that I didn't necessarily answer, some questions you might have, love to spark a discussion when it comes down to it. But I think that this hopefully describes enough about how the deck works and gives you where my thought process on the card and why I play the certain counts and where I'd make some changes. So if that sounds cool with you, that's where we're going to leave things going. As for me, I'm going to continue to test with my friends when it comes to preparing for Merida. Like I said, I have that day 2 regionals finish in Toronto, not the day 2 finish I wanted. So I'm still looking for a few more finishes to kind of round out my invite, hoping for something big here. And I'm probably going to be playing Gholdengo again. So expect me to be experimenting with this deck a little bit more often. Maybe we'll get some gameplay videos going on for next week. Just really trying to get everything as locked in as possible. But yeah, if other than YouTube videos, feel free to check me out on Instagram, YouTube, X, Facebook, and of course, if you're looking to improve your game at Pokemon, hit me up for some coaching on metafy.gg/@ZachLesage. Would love to help you on your Pokemon journey. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.